Morning, friends. Very good morning and welcome in the next video lecture of uh, electromagnetic field theory. In this video lecture, we will study about the electric flux density and Gauss law. In previous lecture, we have already discussed about the electric charge, Coulomb's law, electric pole intensity or electric field intensity. In this electric field intensity, we have discussed the line charge, volume charge, surface charge or space or differential length charge, point charge. So in a previous lecture, we have already discussed about the charge and electric field intensity and the relationship between the charge and electric field intensity and Coulomb's law. And we have already discussed the some rules regarding the electromagnetic field, or electric intensity. Today's lecture is based on the electric flux density Gauss law. Prerequisites to learn this lecture, student able to understand the vector calculus. They have to clear the calculus, mathematical expressions, dot product, cross product, Coulomb's law, electric field intensity, and they are also able to understand the electric charge, charge density. So these are the prerequisites for understanding of today's lecture. The course focus is the electromagnetic field theory. This course is deal to develop the foundation of electromagnetic field theory. The learning objective of this video lecture is that the student will learn and understand the concept of electric charge, charge density, electric flux density, Gauss law. They are also able to understand the Maxwell equations. In the previous lecture, we have already discussed the four Maxwell relationships. So, Gauss law and electric flux density is the law to generate the Maxwell equations. The application of the Gauss law and electric field intensity in the Maxwell equations. Today's lecture is based on the application of the electrostatic field theory or electric field intensity. In the last, we will discuss the several application of electric field intensity. And in the last of this video lecture, we have some multiple choice questions. These are the textbooks and the other recommended books for electromagnetic field theory. SADIQ is the book which is published by the Tata McGrail, and the title of this book is The Principle of Electromagnetic. The main outcome of this video lecture is to clear the concept of the electric flux density, Gauss law, and the application of the Gauss law in the Maxwell equations. On the completion of this video lecture, student will also understand the concept of electric flux density and the Gauss law and the application of the electrostatics in the several areas where we applied the electrostatic field theory in the daily lives. Now we have come to the introduction about the electric flux density. What is the electric flux density? The field intensity or simply electric field gives the strength of field at a particular point. The electric field depends on the material media because which is based or relative to epsilon naught, and epsilon naught and epsilon r, that is relative permittivity of the medium. So electric field is the based on the material media in which the field is being considered. So electric field is a quantity which gives the field strength at a particular medium or particular point in a medium. The flux density vector is defined to be independent of the material medium. So flux density is not depend on the medium. It is the independent of medium. For a linear isotropic medium under the consideration, the flux density vector is defined as B equal to epsilon naught E. E is the flux density vector, and E is the electric field intensity. Epsilon naught is the relative, it is the permittivity of material. The electric flux phi as phi equal to the surface integral of T dot ds in the form of integral form. So psi is the electric flux, and D is the electric flux density vector. Consider a set of the concentric metallic spheres, the outer one consisting of two hemispheres, which could be firmly claimed together. First, with the equipment dismantled, the inner sphere was given a non-positive charge. Second, the hemispheres were the claimed together around the charge sphere with about 2 centimeters of the dielectric material between them. The outer sphere was discharged, connecting it momentarily to the ground. The outer sphere was separated carefully using tools made up of insulating material in order not to disturb the induced charge on each hemisphere and negative induced charge on each hemisphere was measured. This is the Faraday's experiment. In the Faraday experiment, we have charged sphere, that is the positive charge, and metal and insulator. So metal is providing the field, or it is grounding, because charge is on the sphere produce the electromagnetic fields. It can be found that the total charge on the outer charge was equal in the magnitude to the original charge placed on inner sphere, and this was true regardless of the dielectric material separating the two spheres. There was some sort of a displacement from the inner sphere to the outer sphere, which was independent of the medium. This as the displacement flux density and electrical flux is represented by psi. So psi equal to the charge, that is the Q. The electrical flux is measured in the coulombs. The unit of the electrical flux is the same as coulomb, the unit of the charge. The electric flux density is represented by the letter T because of the nature that was given initially, displacement flux density. Displacement flux density. Because charge is displaced in the sphere. So the flux density is represented by the charge Q, that is the flux, electric flux density is represented by the D, and electric flux is represented by the Q, and it is equal to the psi and in the coulombs. The electrical flux density T is a vector. It is a vector quantity and is a member of the flux density class of vector fields. The direction of the D at a point is the direction of the flux lines at that point. And the magnitude is given by the number of the flux lines crossing a surface normal to the lines divided the surface area. The magnitude is given by the number of the flux lines crossing a surface normal to the lines divided the surface area. This is the electric flux in the region between a pair of the charge concentric spheres. In this figure, we understand that the R is equal to the A, radius for inner sphere, and R equal to the B is the outer spheres. So charge is moving from plus to minus, means inner to outer, and the metallic conducting spheres has the outer body is the metallic, and in between of the two spheres we have a dielectric or insulating materials. So this is the phenomena to develop the electric flux in the region between a pair of charge concentric spheres. So this sphere is concentrated with the charge. The electric flux density is the radial direction, in the radial direction, and has a value of E, where R is the radial distance is the A, is equal to Q upon 4 pi A square in the direction of AR, because B is the vector quantity. B R equal to the B equal to the Q upon 4 pi B square in the direction of the AR, and at a radial distance of the R, that is R is less than to the B or equal to the B, and it is greater than to the A or equal to the B. So now we have calculated the flux density, electrical flux density at the distance R. The D is equal to the Q upon 4 pi R square in the direction of AR, vector, unit vector AR. If compare this result with the equation for electric field intensity of a point charge in the free space, that is electric field intensity is equal to the q upon 4 pi epsilon naught r square in the direction of kr. It is also a vector quantity which we have already studied in the previous lectures. So the electric field intensity will depend on the medium, but electric flux density is not depend on medium. So in the free space, on the comparison of the two equations, that is the electric flux density as well as electric field intensity, we get the relationship of charge density, electric flux density is equal to the D equal to epsilon naught E. The figure below shows that clearly what is the flux passing through an open surface. The figure third shows that the electric flux through an open surface. So through which we are able to understand that the how much of the flux is passing through a open window or open surface. Figure E shows that the air flows. Figure B shows the flux, and figure C shows the electric flux, and figure D shows the complete electric flux from a window or a surface, open surface. So this figure shows that the electric flux through an open surface, passing through an open surface, and we are able to understand that how the electric flux density is related with the electric field intensity. In the next section, we have the Gauss law. The Gauss law is defined as the Gauss law is the one of the fundamental law of electromagnetism, and it states that a total electric flux through a closed surface is equal to the total charge enclosed by the surface. Yes, it states that the total electric flux through a closed surface is equal to the total charge enclosed by surface. Total charge enclosed by surface. So here we have the figure shows that V is the density and theta is the angle, and we have a cone in the closed surface, and ds is the surface area in the and theta and an is the normal vector. Gauss law constitutes one of the fundamental law of electromagnetism. It also developed the Maxwell equations. All the Maxwell equations is based on the Gauss law. Gauss law is the particularly useful in the in computing or where the charge distribution has some symmetry. Now we have the application area of electrostatics theory or electric field intensity. In the previous lectures, we have already discussed some important name of the uh, application. That is the electric force in the biology and Xerox copy and printers, scanners. These are the daily life application of our electrostatic field. So we are going to discuss more in the more detail and insight of the application or area of electrostatics. or electric field intensity. So the first application of this is the electric forces in the biology. Classical electrostatics has an important role to play in modern molecular biology. Large molecules such as the proteins, nucleic acids, and so on, so important to life into E. D equal to the epsilon naught epsilon r E. D is equal to the epsilon E. So this is the thus the dielectric constant or the relative permittivity of the material epsilon r is the ratio of the permittivity to the free space. If the electric field is too strong, then it begins to strip electrons completely from the molecules, leading to the short-term conduction of electrons within the media. This is called the dielectric breakdown. The maximum strength of the electric field that is a dielectric can tolerate a priority to which breakdown occurs is called the dielectric strength. In the linear dielectrics, the permittivity epsilon does not change with the applied field E. Homogeneous dielectric do not change their permittivity from point to point within the material. Isotropic dielectrics do not change their dielectric constant with respect to the direction within the material. Two types of the dielectrics exist in the nature, polar and the non-polar. Non-polar dielectrics do not possess the dipole's moments until a strong electric field is applied. Polar dielectrics such as the water possess a permanent dipole moments that further align if possible in the presence of an external field. Next we have the conductor, semiconductor and the insulators. It is the convenient to associate these energy level or energy states are permissible in given atom, and an electron must therefore absorb emit discrete amount of the energy or a quanta in the passing from one level to the another level. In a crystalline solid such as a metal or a diamond, atoms are packed closely together. Many more permissible energy levels are available because of the interaction forces between the adjacent atoms. It can be observed that energies which may be caused by electrons are grouped into the broad ranges or bands, each band consisting of the very numerous closely spaced discrete level. At a temperature of the absolute zero, the normal solid also has every level occupied, starting with the lowest and proceeding in order until all the electrons are located. The electrons with the highest, least negative, that is energy level, the valence electrons are located in the valence band. If there are permissible higher energy level in the valence band, or if the valence band merge smoothly into a conduction band, then the additional kinetic energy may be given to the valence electrons by an external field, resulting in an electron flow. The solid is called a conductor. The filled valence band and unfilled conduction band are shown for the conduction. So, in the case of the conductors, the filled valence band and the empty conduction band. There is the no energy gap in the case of the conductors. There is an energy gap in the case of the insulator in between the filled valence band and the empty conduction band. Next, we have the semiconductor materials. In the semiconductor material, we have a small energy gap as compared to the insulator. So there is the small energy gap in between of the filled valence band and the empty conduction band. If, however, the electron with the greatest energy occupies the top level in the valence band and a gap exists between the valence band and the conduction band, then the electron cannot accept the additional energy in the small amounts and the material is an insulator. The greatest energy occupy to the top level in the valence band and the a gap exists between the valence band and the conduction band. In this case, there is the energy gap between the greatest energy gap between the conduction band and the valence band. The electron cannot accept the additional energy in the small amounts and the material is an insulator. So this type of the material is known as insulators. The band structure is the indicated in the above figure. Note that if a relatively large amount of the energy can be transferred to the electron, it may be sufficiently excited to jump the gap into the next band, where the conduction occurs easily. Here the insulator breaks down. An intermediate condition occurs when only a small forbidden region separates the two bands as indicated in the figure. Small amounts of the energy in the form of the heat or an electric field may raise the energy of the electrostatic, the top of the filled band and provide the basis for conduction. These materials are insulators which display many of the properties of the conductor and are called semiconductors. So semiconductor have the property of both type of the material, that is the insulator materials and the electric materials. So in this, we have a small energy gap between the conduction band and the valence band. Now, conductor free space boundary. When suddenly the charge distribution is unbalanced within a conducting material, there suddenly appear a number of the electrons in the interior of the conductor. The electrical field set up by these electrons are not countered by any positive charges, and the electrons begin to accelerate away from each other. This continues until the electrons reach to the surface of the conductor. Here, the outward progress of the electrons is stopped. For the material surrounding the conductor is an insulator, not possessing a conduction band. No charge will remain within the conductor. Hence, the final result within a conductor is zero charge density, and its surface charge density resides on the exterior surface. Also, for a static condition in which no current may flow, the electric field intensity within the conductor is zero. So, for electrostatics, no charge and no electric field may exist at any point within a conductor. Charge may appear on the surface as surface charge density. There will be a field external to the conductor, and this field can be decomposed into the two components, one tangential and one normal to the conductor surface. This is the free space conductor. We have a one normal and one tangential component of electric field vector and electric field density. The tangential component is seen to be zero. From this, you are able to understand that the tangential component to be zero. There will be a field external to the conductor, and this field can be decomposed into the two components, one tangential and one normal to the conductor surface. The tangential component is seen to be zero. If it were not zero, a tangential force would be applied to the elements of the surface, resulting in their motion and non-static conditions. Since static conditions are assumed, the tangential electric field intensity and electrical flux density are zero. So close integral of E dot dl equal to the zero. These are the relationship from the previous discussion, and E total equal to and delta W equal to zero. Let E total equal to zero. So the product of the E total into delta W equal to zero. Close integral of the D dot ds equal to the Q. Normal component of the D delta S equal to the rho S delta S. Normal component of the D equal to the rho S. This is equal to the dt equal to Et equal to 0. In the summary, the static electric field inside a conductor is 0. The static electric field intensity at the surface of a conductor is everywhere normal to the surface of the conductor. The conductor surface is an equipotential surface. Now, electric field in the material medium. Uh, we have discussed the conductor, insulator, semiconductor materials. Now we have to discuss the what is the electrical field in the material medium. Consider the charge distributions only in the free space and found its effect in the terms of electric field intensity, electric flux density, electrostatic potential. Now we will consider effect of charge distributions in the material medium. In general, based on the electric properties, materials can be classified into three categories: conductors, semiconductors, and insulators. Electric. In the conductor, we have already discussed three types of the materials: conductor, semiconductor, and insulator. We have discussed all three. Insulator is also known as the dielectric. So we have discussed the basic mechanism of conductor, semiconductor, dielectric materials. In the conductors, electrons in the outermost shells of atom are very loosely held and they migrate easily from one atom to the other. Most metals belong to this group. The electrons in the atoms of the insulators or dielectrics remain confined to their orbits, and under the normal circumstances, they are not liberated under the influence of an externally applied field. The electrical properties of semiconductors fall between those of conductors and insulators, since semiconductors have very few numbers of free charges. The parameter conductivity is used to characterize the macroscopic electrical properties of a material medium. Now in the next section, we have some multiple choice question on the basis of the conductor, semiconductor, insulator, dielectric materials, and electric field in the materials, and current continuity in the uh, conductors, and conductor, current, etc. First multiple choice questions. Force in a conductor is dash to product of the charges: A directly proportional, B inversely proportional, C not related, D cannot be determined. The force in a current carrying conductor is directly proportional to the product of two charges and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Second multiple choice questions. Force in a conductor is to the square of the distance between the charges. A directly proportional, B inversely proportional, C not related, D cannot be determined. The force in a current carrying conductor is directly proportional to the product of the two charges and inversely proportional to the square of distance between them. Calculate the force between the two charges having the magnitude 3 nanocoulombs and 2 nanocoulombs separated by the distance of the 2 micrometers. A 13.5 Newton, B 13.5 kilonewton, 1.35 Newton, D 1.35 kilonewton. From the expressions, the F equal to the K Q1 Q2 upon R square, the value of the K being 9 into 10 to the power 9, we get force 13.5 kilonewton. The ratio of magnetic force to the electric force on a charged particles getting undeflected in a field is A 1, B 0, C 2, D 4. When a charged particle is undeflected in a field, the magnitude of the magnetic force and electric force acting on the particle is the same, hence the ratio is 1. If the flow of the electric current is the parallel to the magnetic field, the force will be A 0, B infinity, C maximum, D half the original value. Explanation: the force is a cross product. A cross product involves the sine of the angle between them. If the two quantities are parallel to each other, the angle between them is 0. Sine 0 is 0, hence force is 0. Multiple choice question number 6. The weakest force in the nature is A, electric force, B, gravitational force, C, weak force, D, magnetic force. Gravitational force is the weakest force in the nature as it does not bind anything strongly with its help. The next question, the relation between the direction of the current and the direction of the force is A, same direction, B, opposite direction, C, perpendicular, D, unrelated. When a conductor carries a certain value of the current, the force developed in the conductor, the current in the conductor, and the magnetic field in the conductor are mutually perpendicular to each other. By increasing the temperature, the resistance of a conductor A increases, B decreases, C remains constant, D initially increases then decreases. 9. The right hand rule for determining the direction of the induced EMF was introduced by A. Faraday law, Lenz law, Fleming, and Maxwell equations. Last and 10th question. Inside a hollow conducting sphere, A electric field is 0. B electric field is a non-zero constant. C electric field changes with magnitude of the charge given to the conductor. D electric field changes with distance from the center of the sphere. So the conclusion of today's lecture that after watching this video, student will understand the concept of the current, current density. They will also learn the conductors and the conventional and conduction type current in the conductors. They will also learn about the continuity of currents in the conductor. A part of this, student will understand the concept of the conductors, insulators, that is known as dielectrics, semiconductor type of materials. They will understand the energy gap relationship between the three type of the materials, such like conductor, insulators, and semiconductor. The student will also understand the electric field in the conducting materials or different materials. So in the coming lecture, next lecture, we will find the electric field in the conductor, insulators, that is known as dielectric, and semiconductor materials. So after watching this video, student uh, outcomes of the this video is that student will learn the continuity, conductor, insulator, dielectric materials, semiconductor materials. They will learn the current and conductor and electric field in materials. Thank you.